So I'm back for another video, and I wanted to talk to you today about sales. And right now with this pandemic going on, we all want to make more sales. More people are turning to online sales now more than ever before. And I wanted to talk to you about some ways that you can get creative to maybe sell some of those items that you're not really selling right now. And so without any further ado, let's go. So let's talk about your sales. Of course, many of you know about the basics of making an eBay sale. Simply, if you're dealing with a store account, you're listing the item, you're filling out all the item specifics, and of course the description, and setting a good price, and let's see what happens, right? But we want to be creative, and you really want to move your item. You know, I do a lot of looking at accounts while I'm sort of goofing around on the side here. I do some research on eBay, and I want to see what my competitors are up to. So if I find a seller who has, you know, an account selling similar items than what I do, I go on and I want to see what they're doing. And you want to emulate what the good sellers are actually doing. But a lot of times I'll come across accounts where they have thousands of items, and it makes me wonder. I mean, you're sitting on all this merchandise. You must have a warehouse. Maybe some sellers have hundreds of items. To me, that makes me scratch my head, because as a seller of liquidation goods, I'm not interested in sitting on hundreds of items. I want to price my items to where I'm competitive with, with my other sellers that I'm competing against, but I'm doing so in a way where I'm able to make a good profit. And so that goes along the lines of sourcing, and I have videos about that, and I may make another video about sourcing and some of the things to think about. But when it comes to actually being a good eBay salesperson, you want to think outside the box. Okay, if you're doing what everyone else is doing, you better have a better price, you better have great photos, you better have a great description. Otherwise, you're just an average seller selling the same thing that a dozen other people are selling, right? So how do you get creative? Well, one way, and it's something that's overlooked a lot, are auctions, right? Now, if you have an item that's really not in demand, you're going to run the risk of actually losing money on that item. So you have to be prepared for that. What I do is I have a secondary account that I've talked about in my previous video, and I sell items that are, either there's a problem with the item, maybe the item doesn't work, or maybe it's a slow selling, one of those death pile items that really I don't want to sell. Or it's just not selling, right? Maybe a $5 or $10 item. So how do I move that item? Well, auctions are a great way to do that. And what you can do is, I have that death pile item, right? Maybe there's nothing wrong with it, but it's really only selling for about $4 or $5 on eBay, and that's with free shipping. Well, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to lose money on an item just so I can move it. Might as well just throw it in the trash can, right? So what you can do is take a bunch of like items. So let's say you have office supplies, right? Various office supplies you're not going to sell individually because of the problem I previously described, but you can lot about 10 to 20 of similar items together. Now, you can't sell mystery boxes, but you can certainly sell an office lot, and as long as you list each item that you're selling, so there's an actual list, it's not a mystery box, you're going to have a better chance of moving that item. And then, of course, with auctions, you never do free shipping with auctions. It's a bad idea. Always charge the shipping based, it's a calculated shipping model, and it's based on your length, width, and height of the item plus the weight, based on the zip code where the buyer is actually placing the order from. That will determine his or her shipping cost in addition to that lot. So that's one way, right? That's a very creative way, and lotting items is a way you can move some of those death pile items. dealing with maybe clothing, you can put together, let's say 5 to 10 items of the same size, lot them out, right? Just make sure you have a list of every item that you're putting in the bundle. Have nice, clear photos, okay? Any smartphone, I use my iPhone to do my photos, and a good description and item title are very important. And of course, you want to use all your letters that you can use in your title. And that's another video I'm going to make here in the near future, because I've done a lot of researching. A couple years ago, I was a drop shipper, and I hate to say it, but I was. And I learned a lot about making the most out of your titles. So don't just put generic descriptions, and of course don't offer something that's not being offered, but pay attention to your titles. Another way I think it's a good idea is to offer promotions. So in your Markdown Manager, I believe it's what it's called, you go in there and you set up a sale, okay? And maybe put a sale for 10% off. And the reason is, there's people who do searches by items that are on sale. So if your items aren't on sale, you just have them priced like everyone else in your store, this will help you stand out from your competitor, because when a buyer does a search for items that are on sale, your items are going to pop up. Me, if I'm not doing a sale, that same item may not pop up as high as yours in search, because that customer is sorting his or her search by items on sale first. So that's another thing to consider. But really, you want to think of it in terms of how much is this item, how much am I into this item for, and what am I willing to sell it for, what profit margin am I willing to take. And so if you have an item that's been sitting around for quite some time, you may want to consider bundling it like I talked to you about, or you may want to lower your price, okay? Make sure your item is in the right category. I've come across items where we've made a mistake. We've put the item in the wrong category. Make sure your item specifics. This is something that's really important that I'm finding out. More and more people are using their tablet and cell phone to buy your items on eBay. If you do not have those item specifics filled in with little drop downs that state the brand, the MPM, the model number, the color, all the different aspects about your item, the features, right? Someone that's buying that item on a cell phone, that's pretty much what they see. The information you put into that listing for the MPN, if you don't have all those filled out, or as many as you actually can, that customer is not going to have a whole lot of information to work with, right? So it's imperative, and the more and more we sell on eBay, that you understand that your customers aren't sitting behind a PC. They're not reading that description. Now they might be, but more and more people are buying with their cell phone, they're buying with their tablet. So what you put in the MPN, and if you have some special information, maybe it's missing a cover, or maybe there's a problem with the item itself, make sure you're putting that information in the condition of the item, okay? Because I got to tell you, if you've ever tried to buy an item on your cell phone through eBay, you don't get to see the description. You actually have to try to click over just to pull up the original description, and customers, they don't take the time to read. I've learned this from doing auctions, that customers really just want to read that basic information, and that's where your MPN information is coming from. So make sure you fill out your MPN information. And a great way that I found to get that information, maybe you don't know what the model number is, maybe you don't know what the MPN number is, maybe you don't know some of the other specifics that the listing is asking for. Well, pull up that listing in the sold. So you do an eBay search, and you go down the left side, click on sold items, and find some items that are selling at under the same condition that you're selling it, whether it's used, open box, or brand new, and just click on their listing and take a look and see what item specifics they use. And use those for your own if it's the same item, right? That's the way you do it. It's going to save you a lot of time, and that's going to help you move your merchandise. So that's some of the ideas I have for you today. If you found that any of these suggestions are going to help you maybe sell more items, please give me a thumbs up. Please help us all. If you have an idea that I haven't mentioned here that's helping your sales that we can all try, please leave it in the comments below. And please subscribe to my channel, because I'm trying to bring good content really not being talked about by other eBay sellers out there. And hopefully by subscribing to my channel, you're telling YouTube that I'm providing useful content. So with that said, I'll let you have the rest of your day. And without any further ado, I'm signing off, and we'll see you next time.